off with a high level, just a couple of PowerPoints. I'm not a PowerPoint fan, but I want to touch on a few things that I think will resonate with you and certainly did with our business here at eOne. First question is a bit of a trick question. When you look at this pretty picture, I ask, how many orders do I need to fulfill before lunch? Coming to the conclusion that for most of us, a pretty pie chart or a pretty graph doesn't really help us do what we've got to do every day. It's nice for the guy that wants to sit back and do some analysis, but it doesn't tell me how many orders we got today. It doesn't tell me what purchase orders got fulfilled. It doesn't let me check my inventory levels. It's a high level stuff. It's for somebody that wants to do some analysis at the end of the month or at some point, but it doesn't really help the everyday person. The next question is, which app on my desktop, on my phone, whatever it might be, can I use to get all the data that I run inside my business? So whether that's GP, CRM, timesheets from the marketing team, their Facebook stats, orders from our online e-commerce system. How do I get that? What can I do to get all the information about the business that I need to do my job? And really it's about doing your job that I'm concerned with. What I discovered here at eOne is that we used a lot of software. So I asked the question to you is, how many software applications? Now I'm not talking about necessarily just apps. Apps is a funny term. How many pieces of software does your company use? And if you think through it, I think it'll add up pretty quickly. At eOne, here's some of the things we use. And you can see there's an enormous array of business productivity software that's available in the market. Now, for some of you, it's a lot to do with Dynamics GP, but I guarantee in other parts of your business, and this is maybe outside of accounting, but there's a lot of software being used where there's business data being stored. I discovered when I counted around eOne that we had 24 pieces of software for a company that was only 30 people. And when I went through that, we had an ERP system being Dynamics GP. We had a CRM system called Microsoft CRM. We then had a marketing system called Click Dimensions. Then I discovered we had a database behind our website. Then we had 2 payment gateways for credit cards. We then had a timesheet system. Then we started into things like a bug track system for our software development. We had an HR system for managing leave, and it went on and on and on. And it was no wonder that I was pulling my hair out every day trying to find out what was going on a daily basis inside my business. When somebody said, can I have leave? I'd dig into the leave system, remember my password, log in, click about, trying to get some reporting on who else was off that week, and it was tricky and difficult, and I'd get frustrated. Then there'd be a question about, did that credit card process today? And I'd see the accountant log into the credit card gateway software, trying to get a report out of there. It was difficult. And then we'd spend time in GP, and then I'd be in CRM, and it went on and on. So I got really frustrated with that because I had no easy way to find the data I needed to do my job. And that wasn't from a pondering BI perspective. It was really about real data to dig in and do my job. So it was late 2015, I sat with a group of our guys and said, okay, this is a problem that I think eOne should solve. We got a lot of companies that use Dynamics GP. They like our software. What can we use over what we've learned over 15 years in this business that we can help solve this problem of lots of software and getting the data out of it? So a couple of things we drew on. Firstly, we all know that everybody loves Smart List. The concept of list data and being able to control the columns you see and the filters that you have. So we took that concept and said, okay, so list data, getting access to it is important. We also looked at that cloud applications in general have pretty clunky reporting. In fact, all software in general has pretty clunky reporting, which is one reason why we all love Smart List. And I also found that of those 24 applications that I was using, every one of them had a different reporting interface. So I had to learn my way through 24 different ways to get at data. A lot of them didn't let me get at what I wanted. I couldn't group them. I couldn't get totals. I had to export to Excel, and it was messy. So we wanted to try and solve that, put all those things together with this premise that I needed to get the data where I was. So for half of the day, 3/4 of my day, I'm at my desk. So I needed it on my desktop. So I did a desktop application. Sometimes I was at home. Sometimes I'm at conferences. Sometimes I'm out traveling. I need it on the tablet or via the web. I want to get onto my laptop, but I don't want it stored on my desktop. I need it via the web, and I want to get at that data. Other times, I'm in a bar, at a restaurant, at my kid's soccer game, or sitting at home, or sitting at my own desk, and I need to get it on my cell phone. It's the most sensible place for me to go and look, would be on my cell phone, because that's where I'm spending way too much time. So we put that over top of how we get to that data. And we came up with this tool called Popdock, which is the way I can get all of my business data all into one app, so one user experience. Now, a couple of caveats here. This is not Power BI. I'm not aiming at the pondering analytical manager that wants to look at software trends over a long period of time. So it's not big data. This is your data to do your job. And that's an important distinction, I think. I think the average worker is the person that's been missed in this whole data revolution. There's a lot of people with graphs and big data and analyzing the trends of McDonald's customers by age group across the country. But what you want to know is, did that line item ship? Did it come in? Has it been finished? Did the art department finish with it? Did the credit card get rejected? All those sorts of things that we need to do on a daily basis to do our jobs. So we came up with Popdock, which is, as I said, for real people. And we coined the term small data. We want people that need their data to do their job, not big data, not fancy data. So with that said, let's jump in and take a look. So we're going to not spend too long on this, and we'll switch to questions as soon as we can. So I'm going to go across to my browser here, and I'm actually going to log in from scratch. So let's go close that. Let's get a brand new tab, because I want to show you how this works. If I go to popdock.com, and I click login, it's going to let me log straight in here. So I'm on a browser, and I'm logging into my reporting solution called Popdock. That would keep me logged in. It remembered my password, so I don't have to remember that, which is kind of really nice. So once I'm in here, I've now got a series of tabs that's got important data in it. Now I've got all my recently used tabs and so forth, but if I come across to my most favorite report, which is my daily sales. So I take the daily sales tab. It's connecting to Dynamics GP. Now this is one that I use all day, every day. And this shows me all today's sales, which is really kind of cool. Now I tend to scroll across to the right and take a look and go, hey, that's really nice. We've got $26,000 in sales today. Now all of that data is coming out of the eOne's GP server, which is hosted on Azure, so somewhere in a Microsoft world that I'm able to connect to straight from my desktop. And what I tend to do, as you see here, I sort it by the extended price, and I scroll down, and that tells me what we've sold a lot of and what we haven't sold a lot of. So as hope they're not on the call. Enterdyne VMI placed a good order with us this morning. Alta Vista placed an order. UXC Eclipse in New Zealand. So we're able to sell some software in New Zealand overnight, which is really cool. Now what I can also do is say, hey, what did we sell? I can take the item number here, drag it up to the top, and I'm now going to group by the items. So I can see that we've sold some software as a service renewals, some extender renewals, and I can scroll down partner fee renewals, and you'll notice that I'm subtotaling by each of those groupings. So it's pretty easy for me to see everything that I'm looking for in here. So that's a report that I want to look at all day, every day. I want that on my cell phone. I need to know what we're selling. I need to know who's doing the sales. We look at the big one here, Smartless Builder. So a lot of you will have used Smartless Builder before. And so there's my Smartless Builder renewals for the day, and I can see those. So that's the GP data. Now, another way I like to see this same set of data, maybe because I'm paranoid, is through an insight. So if I take my Insights tab here, this gives me that snapshot view of what I wanted to see. So I'm seeing that same data in a little pie chart, the $26,000. I can hover over each segment if I wanted to. So this is for that fancy guy that does want to see some snapshot. And an important number for me is this one here. So I didn't want to see it any other way other than how much money have we paid today? How much has gone into the bank? How many people have paid us money? So I can see we've got $26,000. That's really cool, and I see that on my snapshot. But what I get to do, if we go back to the daily sales one, you get control over everything you want to see in this, just like you would if it was a smart list. So on the right-hand side, I've got every field from those top line items that I may or may not want to see in here. So if I wanted to drag on the account amount, I can just drag that up, and it's going to refresh live, and it's going to go and get that data. So the data here is always live. It's always going back to GP to get it. So every time I hit refresh, I'm going to get that. When I get a filter, just like Smart List, you'll notice I've got an unlimited number of filters in here. I'll get rid of some of these that I don't need. So I've got my document date filter, I've got a SOP filter, and I've got an account amount filter. But I can go ahead and add a filter on any set of data. So that's pretty cool. I can go back straight from my browser and get whatever it is I need and filter that data down. One of the things on those filters, let's just go back in there, is I've got a lot of flexibility here. So I've got a lot of options: is less than, is equal to, is between, is not between. But if we looked at, say, a string field, so let's go on, we want to find where the customer number. Better still, let's go. Customer name. And then I've got all of these relevant fields that relate to string fields. So it does not contain, starts with, begins with, is between, is not between, is less than, and so forth. So we've got a lot of options when it comes to filtering. So if we said it starts with Interdyne and put that filter on, it's going to run off and it's connected to GP, and it's going to bring me back just that. So let's drag off item number from the grouping, and you'll notice that, let's drag that away. That's one to drag off today. All these customers are related to things that Interdyne have placed with us as an order, which is kind of really cool. So thank you, Interdyne. So that's the GP stuff. So I can get to anything in GP. So if I wanted to add a new tab, I wanted to see a new list, I can simply come in here and say, let's go to GP. Let's pick the company in GP I'd like. Let's come down and grab any of the modules. Anything I've built, importantly, in Smart List Builder, for those of you that know and love Smart List Builder, is also available in here. So if I've built a list in Smart List Builder, I can get it back through Popdock. But I can go to sales, purchasing, project. So if I wanted to go to project, I've then got a pre-built list that I've got here called our E1 project hours, which I won't open because I've already got that one. But I can build those up. So I've got a list here called E1 project hours. If we take that, this is giving me a summary of where we're at with, and this is some old data, all the projects that we're working on. So whether we're red or positive or negative, you can see on our internal extended development, we're 400 hours over budget. Not a good thing. On this High Sierra support, they've got 3 hours left on the E1 support desk, which is kind of cool. So I can see that at a snapshot. I don't have to go dig around at GP to run a report to find out whether on a given project we've got time left. So my support guys and consulting team can come to one spot. Now, none of those guys need to be in GP. So I don't let them into GP, but I'm able to give them this view of whether that customer's got support hours left, which is kind of cool. Now, the next step in here is that I can see data that's not just GP related. So everything I looked at so far is GP. But I want to look at some stuff that's not GP related. So I'm going to come to this tab here called Stripe. Now, I'm not sure if any of you have ever heard of Stripe, but Stripe is a simple credit card gateway. It's the one we use for some subscriptions that we sell to people that are buying a little app that we have in an online marketplace. And people pay $50 a month for that. So in here is me able to get data out of Stripe straight back into here, so I can see that we're taking $2,400 a month from these customers based upon subscription, which is kind of cool. I've got some annual ones in this total, so I've overstated that, so I can sort and filter those out. So I can put a filter on the data that's connected to a completely separate cloud-based server somewhere and get my data that I want out of it. I've also got one here called Braintree. Now, Braintree is where the bulk of the E1 credit card gateway goes, and it can be a little slow. I'll see if this one runs. The API that it connects to can be a little slow. But it connects out and shows every credit card transaction that's gone through the E1 website. So my accountant loves it because she can see exactly what's gone through the website as well as what's landed in GP as an invoice all in one place. So she can see those two sets of data. We won't worry about that one. That's going to run for a while. So what I want to do is quickly show you Braintree. So while that's running, I'm going to log into Braintree here. So this is where I would have had to go if I didn't have access to that report. So I come into this user interface and I had to remember how to get here, what the URL was, how to log in, where to get to. And then I go, well, where do I get my reporting from? And it's kind of messy. And I'm not sure, and I say I might want to look at subscriptions. Is that what we're after? And I get a screen that looks like this. And I'm like, I don't know really what that means. What do all these tick boxes do? Which ones do I tick? When I look at whether I can filter it, I can filter on two fields, subscription ID and transaction ID, and my options are very limited. So how do I get the data I want out of here? Exactly, I'm not exactly sure what to type in. Subscription price, it looks messy. There's checkboxes, there's free text. I don't know how to get the data out. And I did that earlier today, and it turns out subscriptions not what I wanted. I wanted the transactions tab. And then how do I get just refunds? Did we have anyone that we had to refund or anything that's settled today from my accountant perspective? And it gets a really messy interface. If I was to search on this one, I think we will get some data for the month of May. So it found some data, displays it to me nicely. But then I can't really do anything with it. I've got to tab through 44 pages of information. I can't search and find inside of that. Exporting it gives me a terrible CSV file. So reporting on this stuff's really difficult. I'm doing it back in Popdock. That one's decided to, maybe because I logged in, it's decided to run for a while. Becomes significantly easier. It's an environment you understand. I can get all that data out of another app up in that environment. Let's close that one down. We'll jump across. So that's how you get data in here. Now you can get data. I'm just going to close this down and log back in again. Now, one of the questions you might be asking is how easy is it to set up connections to other things? And we've got connections available to 52 different things. So you can connect to 52 applications right now. It takes us roughly 5 days to set up a new connection, which we will do on demand. So if you've got some data you want to connect to and you say, hey, I'd really like to see this data in Popdock, you get to call me, send us a message, and we're able to connect to that for you. Let's wait for my internet to catch up. I think that's been the problem. I may have lost some internet here. There we go. It's not wanting me to log back in again. So what we might do, I'll go to the next stage of the demo while this logs in. And that is, I promised you we'd be able to see this data on a cell phone and the same functionality on a cell phone. So let's take a look at that. I go here. And there you go, let's come back now. Let's jump to the cell phone side. So now you can see my iPhone on the screen. So I get to go to Popdock. So I've got an icon here, and that opens Popdock. Now you'll notice I've got the same kind of user interface that you used to with SmartList. So if I was to take GP and I start scrolling around here, I've got, you notice I've got CRM. For those of you that want a future-proof reporting, I've got some Dynamics 365 or NAV or AX or NetSuite, other sort of data in here as well. But let's look at GP. I'm going to take integrated solutions, and I've got all my data. So if I wanted to go to sales and customers, That's going to run off to my GP on my cell phone and grab all that data and display it for me. Let's let that run. Now, one of the things, obviously, with cell phones and reporting is you don't want millions of records. One, the screen doesn't support it. Two, you don't want to dump millions of records from a data perspective. So when you build these lists, you would limit them down to limited number of transactions, only bring back 100 customers or 100 records or 10 records. But you've got all the filtering functionality that you want to filter on the data. So it's running a little slow. I think the whole internet where I'm sitting has decided to go bad. That run for 1 second. I'll just log back into the background. My phone shrunk. Some weird, funky stuff going on here. That list is not working how I wanted it to work. It did earlier, I'm not sure why. But as you can see, basically everything I've got now, I can see data from GP, I can see data from CRM, I can see data from, interestingly, if I look at LinkedIn, I've got data from Timely, which is a timesheet app we use. I've got data from Trello, for those of you that use Trello. I can look at eOne's company Twitter feed. So for the marketing department, you want to see what people are tweeting, who's subscribing. Much cleaner and easier than having to go to Twitter to hunt down all that information. We can pull it into this one spot. I've got YouTube information. So basically, with the world of APIs, we're able to connect to all this kind of data. I might just pull up some contacts here. And get multiple sources, 2, 3, depending on what your needs are. You don't have to have them all. It could be 2, it could be 10, it could be 100 different data sources that you're connecting to. So while that's running, I think my phone internet is really struggling. So let's jump out. We'll make that small and put it in the corner over here. If we go to back here, I talked about adding accounts. So if I want to add a new tab, it's as simple as this, where I scroll down here and it says, what data do you want to grab? Let's just turn this phone off for a minute. You'll notice that phone has finally, with the internet, returned some information. So let's pull that up and do that quickly. So it's gone to my CRM system and it's gone back and pulled back a whole bunch of contacts. Now, again, the columns, if I click on columns, I get to go and add a new one and can add any number of fields, and you'll notice all the fields here are out of my CRM system. So just like SmartList, you've got unlimited access to all of your company data in this environment. If I wanted to filter, I get all the functionality with filtering. So I choose a field. So we went with the account name, and I've got all of the equals, does not equal, greater than, less than, and so forth all in here. So you get very powerful filtering. So it's really an engine that says whatever your business data, the records you want to find, you put in your filters, it pumps it off to that application, brings it back and displays it on screen, which is kind of cool. All right, let's get rid of the phone for the moment. There we go. So adding a connector here, okay, you've got all these you can choose to. So if I wanted a link to Facebook, for example, when I say that, it says, what do you want to connect to? And it will go off and grab that data. It's as simple as making those choices. If we look at the Popdock website itself, which is where I said you could connect to a lot of things, you get access to any of these. So we've connected to an endless number of things. So Constant Contact, CRM, Salesforce, if you happen to choose Freshdesk for support, or Zendesk, or you're using Untitled or HubSpot for the CRM side, you get access to all of that data. So we're connected to more and more things all the time to say, hey, let's get all of the data from your business back into one spot, whether that's FedEx or UPS, we can pull it all into one spot. So it's very much about letting you tie the entire business into the one single user interface. So that's really what I wanted to show today. I wanted to come back to lots of data on 3 different devices. So whether that's via a browser, we've also got a desktop version that will sit on your desktop, and we've got the cell phone version that I showed you. So pull all that data, filter it how you like. If you want some pretty pictures, you get to have pretty pictures through the Insights tab, and you can build any list into a pretty little graph. But for me, it's not so much about the graph. It's about the data and getting access to it in a hurry. And that's really what I wanted to cover today. I won't take up any more of your time, but I will throw to questions if there's anyone out there that's seen something that's useful, or if you've got data you want to give to people in your company, but they don't have access to GP, or they don't have access to certain applications, but you need to share the data with them. Popdock's the way to do it. So I will stop talking, and I'll see if there's any questions. I think you get to type them in. I'm not sure how I see those. Can anybody tell if there's questions there?
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any questions that have come through just yet, but if people on the line want to ask anything, feel free to submit them on the question panel on your screen. Otherwise, we'll be following up after this session with the recording, and if you have any questions that come up after, feel free to ask us then too.
Everybody's either totally amazed or they didn't understand anything I showed them, one or the other.
I think you thoroughly covered it.
Good. A few internet problems, which I apologize for, but otherwise.
Great. Well, yeah, so if there's no questions at this time, I would like to thank you all for attending today's presentation, and thank you, Martin, for giving us that great overview of eOne's new Popdock. And yeah, on behalf of everyone at Interdyne BMI and eOne, we want to thank you for your attendance and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, I just want to point out that it was pure coincidence that on my real live sales data, there was an order from BMI. That was a pure shock. I didn't expect it. So.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.